Thanks for joining us for the first episode of The Guru Learns.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining the first episode of The Guru Learns. I think this is a great idea because people have been telling me I'm stupid for so long. So today I welcome, we all know, Thomas Danaher from Sheets.com as I begin to learn all about sheets. And this came about because a few months back, I met Thomas in the restaurant at the Intercontinental Hotel in Manhattan for what was going to be a 20-minute meeting about possibly promoting the podcast advertising. And it was a 2-hour meeting. And it was incredibly enlightening because as a man, I don't think men really know much about sheets or understand it. And Thomas has devoted his life, you hear me say it on the podcast, to developing these high-quality, fabulous sheets. And there's a story, and he doesn't know I'm going to ask him to tell me this, but there is a story of how this began a long time ago when he was in college and went to Scotland. Most people go to Scotland, and they hit the pubs and they drink. Thomas slept on a set of flannel sheets and was obsessed to find out where they were made and how they were made. And that is how the story begins. Welcome. He's looking at me going, you're such a... that is, if you wouldn't mind, tell that story, how it happened.
Yeah, so I was a college kid at University of Pennsylvania, and I agree with W.C. Fields. I did not like Philadelphia. So
there you go.
I got out of there because I found a school in England that was less expensive than UPenn. And it was a year abroad. So the first couple weeks we were there, a bunch of us went up to Scotland, and we slept in a bed and breakfast. And the next morning, all we could talk about was this thing called flannel sheets that they had on the beds. So
now I would interject and say you need new friends when you go to Scotland and all you want to talk about. Anyway, go ahead.
That's how great the sheets are.
Okay.
Yeah, I need a lot of friends. Okay. I need a lot of help. So what happened is I bought a pair in the local department store and I threw it in my suitcase. I ended up staying in Europe for 2 years, riding around on a 900cc BMW, which I recommend for everybody. And then after I came back from the 2 years, I was back at Penn, graduating, didn't know what to do. And I pulled out my little package of flannel sheets, put them on the bed, and the same experience as when we were all in Scotland. It was you'd notice it in one night. You love them or you hate them. Fortunately, most people love the sheets. And so I said, well, I got to do something with this. So I put an ad in the local Philadelphia papers, and I was getting like $100 of orders, but it was nice. It was mail order. So you get the money up front. And as a college kid, then you go buy the inventory. So you don't have to come up with credit. So I was getting like a couple $100 every week. It wasn't anything you could live on. And so I called up LL Bean, the mail order company in Maine. I said, you should try these. These would be perfect for you. And so they gave me an order for 1,000 sheets. That was like $7,000 back then. This is 1970, 77, something. And so I placed the order nice and easy. And they said, we're going to put it in the Christmas Circular, which is a test catalog for what's going to be the big, hot Christmas item. They called me back the first day of Thanksgiving. They said, this is the biggest seller in our entire catalog.
Wow.
We need to get $50,000 of sheets in time for Christmas.
Okay, sure.
This was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I spent those 4 days of the Thanksgiving while you guys were all enjoying it, trying to hunt down $50,000 of inventory. My factory in England was actually not a factory. It was like a wholesaler whom I'd gotten out of the suppliers list by looking at that little sew-in tag that's on every sheet. The bottom of every sheet has a supplier name. And that was my supplier. So they said, we don't have it. And so I said, well, do what you can. And they said, well, check around with all of our friends. And they ended up putting together $50,000 of inventory, which was great.
Now you had to pay for it.
Yes. They said, we know you, we like you, but we've never sent you this kind of money. So of inventory. So we need to get money up front. And I said, oh, okay. And I called up LL Bean And I talked to the buyer there, and I said, listen, I found the sheets. Oh, that's great. That's really wonderful. but I need the money up front. And the buyer says, I'll call you back. So the controller calls me back, and he says, what's this about 50 grand up front? I told him the whole story that I just told you. I was at University of Pennsylvania, W.C. Fields, got overseas, slept in the sheets, and I found them for you, the inventory, but I don't know these people. They need the money. And 2 days later, 50 grand shows up in my little college checking.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
You could have been Enron. You know what I mean?
I could have disappeared. And it's a lot of money for a young kid.
Back then?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't. So I chartered a 707 full of flannel sheets. We flew it into Boston, delivered it to LL Bean.
I never asked this before. How many sets of sheets makes up 50,000?
That's about 7,000. We were actually selling individuals, not sets back then. So 7,000 individual sheets. So 50,000. It was my biggest order by far.
Yeah.
All right. So that started me off. I delivered. They loved me. They loved the product. Next year, now I'm still in college. The next year I have $1 million business because I went to Orvis, Eddie Bauer, all the similar people to LL Bean, and everybody bought in on it. Everybody. Wow. So I had $1 million business in my second year. And I'm still in college. And so I figured, all right, let's keep following this trail. It's hard to turn down that kind of money. And so the English people say, we can't supply that. Yeah. Well, what am I going to do? They said, go down to Portugal. That's where we get our stuff. So I went down to Portugal, and I split up the order between or amongst, what is it? It's among three suppliers.
Well, in Jersey, we go, I got 3 people that can make sheets, and I threw them a bone, and they each took some of the order, right?
That's how it worked.
But 2 out of the 3, not that good.
Not that good, no. In fact, what they did, they gave me the shipping tracking numbers for their goods that were supposedly on the water. And I passed that along to LL Bean and all these mail order companies. Turned out they were bogus numbers. They had never made the shipment. But I didn't know that, and neither did my customers.
Did they get paid?
No.
No, good.
No.
At least they didn't get paid.
Yeah. They should have gotten screwed. I got screwed. Because that's the worst thing you can do in the mail order business is because LL Bean would tell its customers, no, it's on the water, don't worry, it'll be here. And then at the very, very end, they find out that was all not true. So they don't want to talk to me. I lost all my customers. I went from $1 million to 0. Wow. My third year, I started with 0. But I found one factory out of the 3. They were good. And I stayed with that factory. I still work with them. That was spent over 30 years ago. Mm. And I built it back up. So I went to Bloomingdale's, and I went to all the department stores. And I'll never forget it. I didn't know what to call people. So I wrote to the head buyer, which I meant to say the chief buyer.
The word is chutzpah.
I guess, yeah.
That's what you have to have.
Yes.
You know, let's go, you know.
Yeah, that's
all passion. It's also perseverance.
Yes.
It's also annoying to these people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure they enjoyed getting emails and letters. I got a set of sheets you're going to love. Anyway, sorry.
So I got started, and what was great is that all the customers they got the deliveries first, but then they all loved it. And so what would happen is they would reorder, which in the sales world is what you want. You want reorders. So you don't have to really work to keep those customers. You just have to make sure they're happy. But then you can go to the new guys and say, listen, Bloomingdale's just did great, and B. Altman's just did, and the new guys pile on. So we built the business up over the course of time to where we were the biggest flannel sheet supplier in the world. Tom, we made more flannel sheets than all the other factories combined, and this was a little Portuguese family firm. Mm-hmm. The father had started it from scratch. He had 5 sons. I got along with them like the 6th son, like an orphan son. But I mean, it was great. And we rode that wave, delivered every single time to everybody that ordered. And they just loved me because all the retailers made money on it. So I was supplying Walmart, Costco, Sears was there at the time, JCPenney, all the big Montgomery Wards, everybody, but you wouldn't have known it because it was all under their brand names. It was not under anything having to do with me. But I got the commission. Wow. And the Portuguese were wonderful. They paid me no matter how much sales I made. They kept paying. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's how it all started. And then what Sheets.com came out of is, funny story, the way the internet was working back then, nobody knew that e-commerce was on the horizon.
Right.
What you needed an email address. So I'll never forget it. JCPenney calls me and said, you need to get on email. Because till that point, we were working on fax machines.
Right.
And telexes. And they said, you need an email address. And I said, okay, what do I do? And he said, call my techie upstairs. So I called the techie and he said, yeah, you need an email address. I said, well, what's that? He said, what do you sell? I said, I sell sheets. He
Can
said,
you imagine now you have Sheets.com?
now I have Sheets.com.
I bet it's worth a few bucks.
I was offered $1 million for it.
I was going to say.
Yeah,
I was going to say. Yeah,
so that's how the name came about. So then what happened is the father of this factory passed away. And his sons were all typical European, spoiled brats. All drove, Porsches and Maseratis and such. And they ended up ruining the business. Within 2 years, they had ruined the business. It went from 2,000 employees down to 120.
Wow.
So I have the Sheets.com name, but I don't have any business supplying America because the factory was bad. And we had China had come in and all that stuff. So I had the domain name. And so I said, well, let me see. I offered it for sale. That's when I found out it was worth $1 million.
Wow.
And I said to the people, well, what are you going to sell on this sheets? And they said, we're going to just sell our sheets. I said, can I sell your sheets? Yeah, you can sell our sheets. I started Sheets.com using all these people whom I had met over the years to supply me. And to make a long story short, I was miserable at it. I was terrible at it. I didn't know what I was doing. And I had way too many products. I had pillows. I had comforters. I had
like the guy.
Yeah.
Like that guy.
I forget Mike Lindell.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
How is that? You would never say it anywhere, but I do have some towels from him. They were very nice towels, but I never got a pillow from him.
You didn't? Oh, his pillows are great.
Are they?
They are.
I didn't know. Okay.
Takes a while to like them, 4 or 5 days, but then they're great.
I dated a woman like that. But anyway, move on. This is a very serious podcast. We're going to take one pause. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're back, and because the Guru believes in complete transparency. The only reason I stopped this recording was to make sure it was recording. Because people that listen to me know I've done this podcast sometimes 3 times in the same morning, and I would not have wanted to waste Thomas's time redoing it because I am the consummate professional. But I'm actually talking to a consummate professional about Sheets, and we'll continue on. So now you've got Sheets.com. You passed up $1 million. So you have that name, and you're now independent. And
so what happened was when I was selling my sheets to all these big retailers, I noticed that they would spend $500,000 by touching a little swatch and saying, oh, I like this sheet, but I don't like that one. And they were making these big decisions based on the touch. And I couldn't believe it because manufacturers can make a sheet that touches great. But after you wash it like 3 times or 4, it feels like garbage, right? So here are these these retailers buying sheets, thinking they're giving their customers a great sheet because they're touching a little 4-inch square of it, right? And that's what goes into the shelves and the customers buy it. I got so many complaints from my customers saying, this sheet is a piece of junk. These were my actual, like the wives of the retailers, like Mrs. Bloomingdale would say, no, the sheets that we buy off our own shelves are horrible. Well, what's the matter with them? Well, they feel like garbage. So I decided, rather than using that technique of choosing what's a good sheet and a bad sheet, I would test all my sheets at an independent lab. And so I ran 300 sheets through this testing device that tells you all these characteristics of sheets. Like, is it smooth? Is it pliable or stiff? Is it rough or smooth? Is it warm or cool? All these attributes. And I decided I would sell my sheets based on how they feel to your touch, which is what people really care about, right? Okay, so I launched a website called Perfect Linens with that theory. And I just lost everything because I didn't know how to market this stuff. I had great product, but I didn't know how to market it. And my competitors were just marketing pretty decent sheets, but they were killing me.
You know, that is the absolute key. It's not the quality of the product; it's how you market it, and then you know. And now in social media, like Facebook, is littered with companies that aren't even real, and they'll offer things like golf clubs at these stupid prices. I fell for it, and I ended up ordering. They didn't exist. My sister-in-law just ordered something, but she did it in such a way it was guaranteed that they didn't make them either. You know,
and you can't even find them when you need.
No,
to
and getting your word out and doing it. So we'll talk a little bit later about you taught me about threads, so many threads, and how people are around that. But I interrupted as usual.
So what I ended up finding after all these test results, I found 3 sheets that I called outliers, meaning they tested way off the chart compared to all the 299 others. One of them was great.
That's a lot of sheets.
It is.
How many weeks in the lab, or how many days?
Oh, that was well, the testing alone was like 3 weeks. Because it's like an hour per test, and then you got to crunch all the numbers. There's machines that actually do that, huh? Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
The machines are, each one of the machines costs $300,000. One of them only tests for pliability. Does it bend, or does it stay crisp? You know, the other $300,000 machine will test if it's smooth or rough. So these labs have like $2.5 million of equipment around, and so it was great.
You rent those for like $29.95 a day, do you? That's a big investment, right?
Yeah.
But you knew then you had 3 products you could be proud of. 3 products, and you know, and here comes the sales pitch a little bit, children. You know, the people that like John from Westchester and Stephen Ellie, the people that have made the move, they love these products. They absolutely do,
because they really are rare and great, rare and great. So my wife and I, we used 2 of them. So the first sheet that everybody liked the most was what you call Easy Breezy. It is the lightest, coolest sheet. And we back it up with, if you want, we back it up with data. Everybody claims their sheets are cool. But I'm sorry. I know that they really aren't. So I keep going out there saying, this is a cool sheet. And the way you can tell great sheet and a great cool sheet in particular is just look at the package. If it's the same thread count and it's a thick, big package, it's junk. If you have the same thread count and it's a thin, lightweight package, it's great. Because what that means is the yarns are really thick in one category, or they're really fine. And that's the difference in a great sheet, is the yarn. It's not the thread count. Is the yarn good or bad?
Educational part of this, because we talked about this. Everybody, it's all about, and they advertise the 1,000 thread count, this thread count, that thread count, and everybody assumes the higher the thread count, the higher the quality, the better the quality. That's true or not true?
It was true in the beginning.
Okay.
In the beginning, when they had 180 thread count, they then came out with 200, and that really was a superior product compared to the 180. Actually, even before that, they had muslin sheets, and then they came out with the 180. And that was percale. So from the muslin to percale was a better sheet. And then from the percale to what they call the supercale was a little better, because it had more threads per inch. And to do that, you had to have a finer yarn, and you had to have a slower weaving machine. Okay. And that cost money, but it was worth it because the sheet was really a step up. Okay. Then they say, wow, well, if we can get away with, making that pitch, let's see what would happen with a 400 thread count and a 500 and an 800. And so they had to switch the way that it's manufactured. And they started to go from a slower weave, which is a 1/1 or percale weave. They switched to a sateen weave, which is a 4 yarns over, 1 yarn under, 4 yards over, 1 yarn under. That's a much faster production. You can produce 10 times as much fabric that way than the 1/1/1/1. So they came out with a cheaper fabric, which they could call a higher thread count fabric. So that took over the market. So everybody started selling, 400, 500, 800, 1,200.
For big money.
Yes, because they said people will buy it.
Yeah,
And
they did because they didn't know when.
They didn't know what they were having.
I know. I went to look at sheets a few years back, and I was just shopping thread count. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
No surprise.
So then it became a problem because the truth started to come out. It took like 3-4 years, but people started to say, this higher thread count stuff, it's not true. It isn't better. It's worse. So now it's gotten to the point where people want to know what's a great sheet, and that's where my help should supposedly help. And to the degree that I can explain it, people will go, "Oh, that's sensible."
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a very difficult time getting the word out because Amazon sells 2,400 thread count complete BS. There's no way you can fit 2,400 threads into an inch. That's what thread count is.
Yeah.
How many yarns get packed into an inch? So what Amazon's doing is they're saying the filaments that make up the yarn are counted as yarns. So you have like a piece of polyester that has like 400 filaments in one yarn, and they'll say that's 400. So they sell you now a 2,400 thread count sheet on Amazon that's made out of like, it's worthless.
Yeah.
It's just worthless, but it sounds beyond great.
Allegedly worthless? We're supposed to cover ourselves by saying allegedly? No, in your opinion, as an expert, a certified expert in this business, in this field.
Beyond worthless.
There you go. Just jump right in there. Why not?
Totally beyond worthless.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so now I'm selling these sheets. So I've got now what amounts to be these outliers, these great sheets. And the big issue that comes up under sleeping problems is temperature. Temperature is more important than after you have a soft sheet. After softness is covered, temperature is the next concern. People are sleeping too hot or they're sleeping too cold. Temperature, especially with the women. I love women, but temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So I sell everything based on that, temperature. I don't sell it based on, brand name, Frette, Protesi. I don't sell it on colors or patterns. So I sell just only white. Right now, just white. I'll get into colors later. But I'm selling it on temperature. And it's going over the menopause crowd. I'm like Mr. Hero on the menopause crowd. And
there you go. Holland America, you should market that. They actually passed that. That would that would be past that, but So
I have the coolest sheet that is made in the world. The coolest sheet. You cannot make this sheet any lighter or it wouldn't hold up in the laundry, in the washing machine. It would be
you would mention that too about, first of all, when you purchase these, and you should make sure you wash them before you put them on, right?
Yeah, and wash them to the instructions.
And you can keep washing them and they'll still be the same sheet,
Oh, that's true, Tom. Yeah. I tested all these sheets, these 300 sheets, when they were new, but after I'd washed them 10 times, I retested them. So you could see all the difference between the fancy finish and after that had washed out, what you were going to have for the rest of your life with that sheet. So yeah, these are sheets that stay the same after you've washed them, and they stay the same. So the lightest sheet and the warmest sheet, the two ends of the temperature spectrum, you know that word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the middle idea is my invention. It's called Harmony 2 Temp, and what it is the left side, let's call it the left side of the sheet, is cool, and the right side is warm. You can flip it, but the point is one side is a cool sheet, one is a warm sheet. And so it's for couples where he's cold and she's hot or whatever. They can use whatever side of the sheet fits them.
And as I said in this morning's podcast, you haven't heard the podcast yet, but I mentioned we were at dinner and I said, you can't feel the seam. And your wife said, because there isn't a seam. Just looked at me like that. Don't you know the product there, boy? There isn't a seam.
There isn't.
So you can't feel the seam, but it's two different temperatures.
Yeah, and that's the patent. Now, what's really funny, I don't know if you're going to keep this in the podcast, but my grandfather, so here, this is the two sides of it. You can see it. You see how, you can see the thin side, that's the cool side, and you see the thick side, that's the warm side. And you can feel the difference. One of them's warm to the touch, the other one's cool, and one will keep you warm all night long, the other one will keep you cool all night long. And it really works. I mean, I was sleeping on the warm side the other day, and then I got in on the other side of the bed by mistake, because my wife and I were kind of ambidextrous about what side.
Yeah.
So I got in on the cool side. I go, ooh, something's wrong here, because I guess I like it warm. So I just rolled over, and there I was. So I can say that it works, and all of the temperature tests shows it works.
Mm-hmm.
So now the funny part is, Tom, my grandfather was an inventor, and he wrote a book for the American Radiator Company called Heating and Air Conditioning, which to this day, Amazon publishes under their title Scholar Select of the books that they consider crucial to keep in circulation. So they produced it verbatim. You know that word? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll let you know if I don't know the next, but I'll figure it out. Anyway.
Okay. So this book, they write on the back cover, they are republishing in its entirety because they consider it one of the key pillars of civilization as we know it. This is my grandfather, right?
Pretty nice.
And I open up this book, and it's all algorithms and formulas. Here's his stupid grandson. I couldn't follow one page of the book, but I think the gene came through.
Yeah, sure.
And here I am inventing a warm, cold sheet after all. And I didn't know he'd written this book at the time I invented it. It was just all fantastic.
Now, when you went to the factory and said, this is what I want to do, they look at you and go, what do you mean? What do you
Definitely.
Sell one or the other. What are you doing here?
Yeah, definitely.
We're busy. It's a Tuesday. We have a lot of orders. Now, all of a sudden, they have to retool the machine for that?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah. It took us about 2 years to get the first working prototype.
Wow.
It's work to get this. It doesn't seem much, but there's a lot behind the scenes, a lot. And we still have problems that we're trying to fix, you know? So, for example, the color. The color doesn't take the same amount of color on the cool side as on the warm side. So if you get into the dark colors like hunter green, and the cool side's going to look a different shade than the warm side. How are we going to fix that? I don't know yet. I don't know. That's my job.
Most hotels, they're all white sheets. White is nothing wrong with white.
White is 60% of every the market anyway.
Yeah, right,
yeah.
Good.
And you bring up hotels. The sheets that are in the hotels could never be the sheets from sheets.com, because the sheets that are in hotels and cruise lines, they got to undergo hundreds and hundreds of washings. So they're built to take it. If you were to take a regular sheet that you buy in the store or my sheets and put it through that, they wouldn't last. So those sheets are designed to be long lasting. They're fine, but they're not going to be as, how do you say it? They're not as comfortable as if you had your own sheets, good quality sheets at home. So I often get the question, can you supply our sheets to boutique hotels? And that's okay, because they wash them like it's a home business.
Yeah. And
but
there's some I've stayed in, they wash them every 10 days. Oh, just kidding. Now, my career took off now. It's every 5 days. But there is a market there, but it's another custom. And you couldn't do it, but you couldn't have the same quality. They'd be a little bit different.
Oh, big
You'd have to get new testing.
You'd probably have to put some polyester into it, because that's what holds the strength. Polyester is basically like indestructible. Yeah. So they put polyester in most of these hotel sheets because they'll keep the sheet alive for 1,000 washes. Yeah. So no, mine are all pure cotton, and they're white. So that's enough. So I'm still kind of getting started and getting the gears cranked up. But what's great about it, Tom, is I can't tell you how many people have conceived children in our sheets.
I had no idea you were going there. Not one bit. Now, how do you know that? In the reviews?
No, they don't write about that.
I want to thank you, Thomas. I have a 2-year-old son now. Thanks to your the fact that the wife was always cold and I didn't have the Harmony 2 temp, so I helped her out. So I have no idea you're going that direction. So
I was actually going to call, before I called it Harmony, I called it the Peacekeeper, because
that's a Colt 45. I think that was Dirty Harry. That's what he used in the movie. Was called the Peacekeeper. So, you really don't want to name it after a. No, Harmony 2 temp is very good name
Yeah.
because people do experience this. This is
It's
very
30.
common.
It's 38% of all couples in England. It's something like 33 or 30% of all couples in the States.
Numbers, because we're we're good. I don't want to. I would talk to Thomas for 2 hours and enjoy it very much, but I'm not sure everybody listening will to this point. But there's something more. It has to do with a good night's sleep. Right? I always say that begins with a good set of sheets. There have been numerous studies about that. Poor sleep. What's the word I want? Poor night's sleep is because of
People are getting sleep divorces.
yeah.
That means they're sleeping apart from their spouse because they can't sleep together. So they're actually moving to like separate bedrooms or separate houses maybe. But it's all about sleep. Yeah, sleep. If you are having trouble sleeping, you're going to have trouble all day long.
Yeah.
Just getting a good night's sleep is really key. It's really key. So that's the other reason I feel really great about, because you get a good night's sleep.
And the ones that aren't sleeping are having babies. So it's interesting. There's a very active set of sheets that you have there. But I do remember you taught me when I was being instructed about that, the studies that have shown the better quality sheets deliver a better night's sleep.
Yeah.
And there is a sales pitch hidden in there, you know.
But listen, the other thing, Tom, you see now on the TV at night, all night long, these advertisements for mattresses that are talking about good night's sleep. Those are like $5,000, $8,000, $12,000 mattresses.
I know. I have one.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
I have. It was only $4,000. It's the Tranquility bed that they have on Oceana that we have.
Yeah.
And to deliver a good night's sleep.
Yeah. That's so.
And that is on the low side. When you go into a Nordstrom's or even a Dillard's in Florida and look at some of the sheets, the mattress sets. Wow.
There's a mattress comes out of Sweden, $25,000 for a mattress. You know?
And comes with the nanny? No, doesn't come with the nanny. It's still got. Well, that's it. So this is
like under $200 for the for really giving you like 90% of a $12,000 mattress.
There you go. I never talk about price on the podcast, obviously, but I do say that compared to some of the. I've been on Nordstrom's and those sites and looked at some of these Italian sheets and like, my goodness. And then, of course, you go on the other side of it where, you can go into Kohl's and get a set of sheets and a cookie and 10% back, but we're not here to talk bad about but that's a different product, right?
Well, there's a good thing that I can tell you. And that is, if you're buying these brand names, there are production in Italy for these Italian brand names like Frette and Protesi, and then they produce the same stuff under the same brand name in India. Get the stuff that comes out of Italy. It's actually worth it. It may be $1,000 for a queen flat sheet. So to get a set might be $2,800 for a queen set. But it's great. Cheap. Then they have the same exact brand name coming out of India, same thread count and all, and it's nothing like the Italian stuff. So if you buy Italian made stuff,
but don't buy it. We're just telling you. Why would you spend $3,000, $2,800 for a set of Italian sheets? That the instructions like, what you do, you put a wash machine, you should invest in sheets.com.
Well, yeah, because those sheets are mainly making their mark because of their name.
Yeah.
And you can go into these couples' homes, and I was in Palm Beach once and talking. Everybody talks about sheets. And this lady said, I want you to come to my sheet closet. I said, well, that's interesting. Let's go.
Very interesting. Had a few offers in life. Never said, take a look at my pillows. But anyway, enough.
Yeah, and so she opens up this big, grand linens closet. She says, these are Frette, these are Protesi. I mean, it was all about what brand name they had.
Yeah.
And so she could say that. And when her guests came, they could see it had the Protesi embroidery on it. And that's something, you know. But does it really solve what I'm trying to solve, which is just, hey, you sleep well last night? How'd you sleep? And that's where I come through. So at this point in time, just 3 sheets. We may end at a new one, which is designed to be antibacterial without chemicals. I don't know if it's worth it, but it's a unique sheet. It's the comes out of Japan. The fiber comes out of Japan. It's triple patented, all this fun stuff.
When I tell people on the podcast that this man loves his sheets, most men are trying to get between the sheets. He wants to make sure you have an excellent set of sheets. And I wanted you to listen because I've sat with Thomas and we've talked about this. The passion is evident. The product is excellent. The quality is. Now the sales pitch. And it comes with a 45-day money-back guarantee. You stand behind, you lay on your sheets, you stand behind your sheets, and you send people sheets.
Yeah.
So we encourage you. Mostly I wanted you to hear the story because I find it very interesting. So this is the first episode of The Guru Learns. And if I find something later on that I don't know anything about, I'll have episode number 2. Thank you for all of your support. And I'll tell you, it's fantastic. And
let me put in a pitch for Tom. So Tom's now working on the travel agency side of things, and there's no more competent or thorough guy than Tom. I gave him a little thought of an itinerary, because my wife doesn't fly, of an itinerary that involved a bunch of stuff. Before I even sat down the next time to see him, he had already started to work on it.
We're working on it. I'm struggling with the thread count on it. Oh. Once I get that, I'm trying to make sure they have excellent sheets, but we're getting it done. No, and I appreciate that. It is a new deal for me, but I am approaching it the way that you approach it, but it's a learning experience. And I don't have $1 million worth of orders yet where the factories don't send it. So far, so good. Yeah. Even the trip we were on, by the way, I didn't mention, we're recording this in the Pulse nightclub, which is interesting for the age group that we have on board the Crystal Serenity. And it's early in the morning, there's nobody here. And you can come in here at midnight, there's nobody here. It's just not that demographic. But anyway, we're finishing up a 7-day cruise. You know it if you follow the podcast. That has been nothing but fun.
It's been great.
Tiring.
It's been great. And Tom's been working. He's been working.
It's tiring and exhausting. Yeah. We want to go home and have 2 days to just rest. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Thomas, for doing this.
You're welcome.
I sincerely hope that you invest in a wonderful set of Easy Breezy, Harmony 2-Temp, or Everwarm. You will not be disappointed. All of my listeners absolutely love this product.
And they get a break on the
That's
pricing.
Right. I forgot. Use the promo code DUCK20 and get 20% off.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening and have a great day.